My wife bought her boyfriend a matching wedding ring using our emergency savings. It was a Tuesday, just a regular Tuesday, the kind where you almost forget what day of the week it is until you're digging through the couch cushions for the remote and your fingers brush against a stray Lego piece, jolting you back to the mundane reality of suburban life. I remember the smell of stale coffee and the faint scent of laundry detergent from the dryer tumbling downstairs. Outside, the sprinkler system was doing its rhythmic, almost hypnotic dance across our perfectly manicured lawn, a testament to the life we'd meticulously built. Sarah, my wife, was humming in the kitchen, the clatter of breakfast dishes a familiar soundtrack to our mornings. Everything was normal, so incredibly, terrifyingly normal. If you're finding yourself drawn into stories like these, stories that peel back the layers of what we think we know, then do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with anyone who's ever felt that gnawing unease in their gut, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Your engagement is what keeps these stories coming. Normal was the currency we dealt in. Our house, a 3-bedroom ranch with a white picket fence that felt more like a cage sometimes, sat on a street where the biggest drama was usually a dog off its leash or a misdelivered package. Sarah and we were the poster children for making it. We had the jobs, me in software development, she in marketing for a local firm, the 2 cars in the driveway, the weekend trips to Target, the carefully curated social media posts that painted a picture of blissful domesticity. We'd been married for 7 years, a solid chunk of time, long enough for the initial spark to mellow into a comfortable warmth, the kind you don't necessarily notice until it's gone, or, as I was about to discover, until it was being redirected elsewhere. The first inkling, the tiny, almost imperceptible tremor that foreshadowed the earthquake, came in the form of a credit card statement. It arrived a week late, which was unusual for Sarah, who was meticulous about bills. I'd opened it intending to file it, but my eyes snagged on a charge from a jewelry store I'd never heard of. Gilded Embrace, it read, with a surprisingly hefty sum attached. My brow furrowed. Sarah wasn't big on jewelry, and we hadn't celebrated an anniversary or birthday recently. Maybe a gift for her sister. But the amount, it felt excessive for a casual present. I tucked it away, a tiny, nagging question mark in the back of my mind, something I'd ask her about later when the moment felt right, when the kids weren't clamoring for juice boxes or asking me to tie their shoes. Then there were the late nights. At first, I'd attributed them to work. Her marketing job was demanding, especially around product launches. She'd come home, her eyes tired but alight with a familiar energy, filled with tales of brainstorming sessions and client meetings. I'd nod, offer her a glass of wine, and listen, happy she was passionate about what she did. But the late nights started to bleed into weekends. She'd be on her phone constantly, a little too often, a little too secretive. A quick glance away when I entered the room, a hurried silencing of a notification. Small things, inconsequential things. The kind of things you dismiss because you don't want to see them, because seeing them means confronting a reality you're not prepared for. I remember one Saturday, I was trying to assemble a ridiculously complicated IKEA bookshelf, the kind that promises minimal effort and delivers existential dread. Sarah was supposed to be helping, but she was glued to her laptop on the dining room table, her fingers flying across the keyboard. I'd asked her a question about a specific screw, and she'd just mumbled something about being in the zone and waved me away. I remember feeling a pang of, what? Annoyance? Resentment? It was a fleeting feeling, quickly buried under the frustration of trying to decipher Swedish furniture diagrams. We were a team, or at least we were supposed to be. And in that moment, it felt like I was assembling our life alone, while she was off building something else entirely. The Gilded Embrace charge kept resurfacing in my thoughts. I started paying more attention, not in an overt, accusatory way, but with a subtle, creeping awareness. I'd notice her phone in her hand more often, her hushed conversations when she thought I couldn't hear. The way she'd sometimes flinch when I touched her, a momentary stiffness that disappeared as quickly as it appeared. It was like watching a crack spread across a perfectly smooth pane of glass. You can ignore it for a while, but you know it's there, weakening the whole structure. One evening, a few weeks after the statement arrived, I was rummaging through her closet, looking for a sweater she'd borrowed. My hand brushed against a small, velvet box tucked away on a high shelf, behind a stack of old photo albums. Curiosity, that insidious beast, got the better of me. I pulled it down. Inside, nestled on satin, was a ring. Not just any ring. It was a simple, elegant band, rose gold, with a delicate,
almost invisible inscription on the inside. My heart did a strange, jittery dance. This was clearly not for me. It wasn't my style, and it certainly wasn't a gift I'd given her. My mind, already primed with suspicion, immediately went to the jewelry store. Gilded Embrace. I sat on the edge of the bed, the box in my hands, my breath catching in my throat. Who was this for? Was it for her sister after all? A secret birthday present? But the inscription, it felt too personal, too intimate for a sibling. It looked like a wedding band, a second wedding band. And the cost of such a thing, even a simple one, would be significant.
I started mentally flipping through our finances. Our emergency savings, the fund we'd painstakingly built up for unexpected hospital bills or a major car repair. The fund that represented security, stability, our future. That night, Sarah was late again. She came home around 10, her excuse a last-minute crisis at work. She looked exhausted, but there was a faint flush on her cheeks, a spark in her eyes that I hadn't seen directed at me in months. She kissed me on the cheek, a quick, almost perfunctory peck, and headed straight for the shower. As the water ran, I crept into the living room and picked up her laptop. I told myself it was for reassurance, a way to silence the whispers of doubt that were growing louder with every passing minute. I know, snooping is wrong, but in that moment, the need to know, to understand, felt overwhelming. Her browser history was a roadmap of her clandestine activities. Searches for Gilded Embrace, but not just their website, reviews, testimonials, articles about ethical jewelers. And then, the really damning evidence. Emails. Draft emails, unsent, but vivid enough to paint a picture I desperately wished I could unsee. They were addressed to someone named Mark. And the content? The words were laced with a tenderness, a longing, a shared future that was utterly absent from my own life. There were mentions of shared dreams, inside jokes, and then the phrase that made my blood run cold. He's finally agreed to meet my parents next month. Mark. The name echoed in the hollow space that was rapidly forming inside my chest. Who the hell was Mark? And what was this about parents? Our parents? Or his parents? I scrolled further, my fingers trembling. And then I saw it. A photo. Attached to an email, a low-resolution image that nevertheless seared itself into my memory. It was Sarah, her face radiant, her hand intertwined with another man's, and on both of their left ring fingers, glinting under the harsh screen light, were matching rose gold bands. My breath hitched. The ring from the velvet box. It wasn't a gift for a sister. It wasn't a placeholder. It was a wedding ring. And the cost, I now knew with sickening certainty, had come directly from our emergency savings. I remembered that charge on the statement. The amount. It was precisely the cost of 2 of those simple bands, perhaps with a slight markup. She hadn't just bought a ring for someone else. She'd bought a matching wedding ring for her boyfriend, using our money. The water in the shower stopped. I quickly closed the laptop, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air in a room that was suddenly too small, too suffocating. The life I thought I knew, the Sarah I thought I loved, had dissolved into smoke. I was left standing in the wreckage, the shattered pieces of our shared reality glinting mockingly in the dim light. The normalcy, the carefully constructed facade, had crumbled, revealing a chasm of deceit and betrayal. I looked at my own left hand, bare and unadorned, and a wave of nausea washed over me. I was still married, still wearing my vows like a badge of honor, while she was apparently already remarried, or on the verge of it, to another man, with another ring, purchased with the funds meant to safeguard our future. The sheer audacity of it, the calculated cruelty, was almost incomprehensible. And the worst part? I had no idea how to even begin to confront her, how to even form the words to articulate the devastation I felt. The silence in the house was deafening, broken only by the sound of my own ragged breathing. The sound of the shower shutting off sent a jolt of pure adrenaline through me. My hands were clammy, my vision blurred, and I felt a tremor run through my entire body, a primal fear mixed with a searing white-hot anger.
I slammed the laptop shut, shoving it back onto the desk with more force than I intended, the wood groaning in protest. I had to look calm. I had to pretend. I could hear her moving around in the bathroom, the faint splash of water, the rustle of a towel. Each mundane sound was a hammer blow to my already shattered composure. My mind was a chaotic storm of questions, accusations, and scenarios, none of them offering any comfort or explanation. Mark. Who the hell was Mark? And the parents? Were they our parents? Was this some twisted game? Or had she actually gone and done it, married him, while still married to me? The matching rings, that was the clincher. It wasn't a flirty little trinket for a fling. It was a symbol, a declaration, a damn wedding band. And my damn emergency savings were gone, funneled into this monumental betrayal. It felt like I was living in a bad movie, a Lifetime channel special. Except this was my life, my wife, my money. I walked into the kitchen, forcing my legs to move, my heart still a runaway train. I grabbed a glass and filled it with water, my hand shaking so badly that I spilled some on the counter. I wiped it up, trying to regain some semblance of control. The scent of Sarah's shampoo, something floral and expensive, hung in the air. It was the same scent she'd worn on our wedding day, the scent that used to make my stomach flip with anticipation. Now it just smelled like rot, like decay, like the end of everything I'd ever believed in. She walked into the kitchen then, drying her hair with a fluffy white towel. She was wearing one of my old t-shirts, stretched out and faded, and a pair of worn-out sweatpants. She looked tired, her eyes a little shattered, but there was that spark, that little flicker of something I'd mistaken for contentment, but now knew was something else entirely. She smiled at me, a soft, tired smile. "Hey you," she said, her voice a little rough. "Long day." I just nodded, unable to speak. My throat felt constricted, like a vice had tightened around it.
I could feel her gaze on me, questioning my silence. She probably thought I was just tired too, preoccupied with work. If only she knew. If only she knew the storm raging inside me. "Everything okay?" she asked, stepping closer, reaching out to touch my arm. Her touch, usually a comfort, now felt like fire. I flinched, pulling away involuntarily. Her hand dropped, her smile faltering. A shadow crossed her face, a flicker of hurt, or maybe just surprise. "Yeah," I managed to croak out, my voice sounding alien to my own ears. "Just thinking about that presentation tomorrow." A pathetic lie, but the best I could come up with. My brain was still trying to process the sheer magnitude of what I'd discovered, the sheer, brutal reality of it. She nodded slowly, her eyes searching mine, a hint of suspicion now coloring her expression. "Right, the big one. You'll nail it, though." She tried to sound encouraging, but there was a distance in her tone, a wariness that hadn't been there before. The gap between us had widened, and it wasn't just physical. It was an abyss of secrets and lies. She moved to the refrigerator, pulling out a carton of orange juice. "Want some?" she asked, her back to me. "No thanks," I said, my voice tight. I watched her pour herself a glass, her movements fluid, normal. It was surreal. How could she be so utterly, completely normal? Like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just orchestrated the ultimate betrayal. She took a sip, then turned back to me. "You know, I was thinking about that vacation we talked about for next summer. Maybe we could finally go to Italy, like we always wanted." Her voice was light, almost breezy, as if suggesting a trip to the grocery store. Italy. We'd talked about Italy for years, pinned pictures of Tuscan villas on Pinterest, bought guidebooks, dreamed of pasta and wine and ancient ruins. It was a shared dream, a symbol of our future together. And now, it felt like a cruel joke. How could we afford Italy when she just emptied our emergency fund for another man's wedding ring? Italy, I repeated, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "Yeah, maybe." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Maybe? What's wrong? You don't sound very enthusiastic." This was it, the moment of truth.
I could keep lying, pretend I hadn't seen anything, let this rot fester until it consumed us both. Or I could confront her. The thought of it made my stomach churn, but the alternative, the slow, agonizing death of our marriage by 1,000 silent cuts, was even worse. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, my hands balled into fists at my sides. "Sarah," I began, my voice shaking despite my best efforts. "We need to talk. About money." She put her juice glass down, her posture shifting, becoming more guarded. "Money? What about it? Everything's fine, isn't it? Is it?" I challenged, my gaze locked onto hers. "Because I saw the credit card statement. The one from Gilded Embrace." Her face went pale.
Just a fraction of a second, but I saw it. The fleeting terror, the sudden realization that she'd been caught. Her carefully constructed facade cracked, revealing the panic beneath. Her eyes darted away, then snapped back to mine, a desperate attempt to regain control. "Oh, that," she said, her voice a little too high, a little too casual. "That was just a little something, a surprise, for my mom's birthday. She's been wanting a new pendant." "A pendant," I echoed, a humorless laugh escaping my lips. "For over $2,000? And it was a rose gold band, Sarah, with an inscription. A matching rose gold band." The words tumbled out of me, fueled by a rising tide of anguish and disbelief. And the money, that came out of our emergency savings, didn't it? Her face crumpled. The carefully maintained composure shattered completely. Her eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow, but of something much more complex. Fear, guilt, defiance, and a chilling, unrepentant defiance. "It's not what you think," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Then tell me what it is, Sarah," I demanded, my voice rising, the control I'd been desperately clinging to slipping away. "Tell me what the hell Gilded Embrace is. Tell me about Mark. Tell me why you bought a wedding ring for another man using our future." The name Mark hung in the air between us, a poison dart. Her eyes widened, and the last vestiges of her denial evaporated. She looked trapped, exposed, and yet there was a strange resignation in her gaze, as if she'd known this day would come. "You went through my laptop," she accused, her voice regaining some of its strength, laced with indignation. "You invaded my privacy." "Your privacy?" I scoffed, stepping closer, my voice laced with the raw pain of betrayal. "What about my privacy? What about our vows? What about the life we built? Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think I was that stupid?" Tears streamed down her face now, but they didn't seem to soften me. They felt performative, a desperate attempt to elicit sympathy. "It's complicated," she choked out. "Complicated?" I repeated, my voice shaking with fury. "What's complicated about cheating on your husband and buying him a wedding ring with his savings? That's not complicated, Sarah. That's betrayal. That's the lowest of the low." She looked at me, her eyes a mixture of defiance and something akin to pity. "You just don't understand," she said, her voice gaining a strange, almost cold clarity. "You never have." "Understand what?" I practically yelled. "Understand that you're in love with someone else? Understand that you've been lying to me for months, maybe years? Understand that you've stolen our security for a fantasy?" She took a deep, shaky breath, and in that moment, I saw a hardening in her eyes. The tears stopped, replaced by a steely resolve. It was the look of someone who had made their choice, who had weighed the consequences, and had decided to live with them. "Mark and I, we fell in love," she said, her voice firm now, devoid of the earlier fear. "It wasn't planned. It just happened. And we wanted to be together, properly." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Properly?" I felt a cold dread creep up my spine. What the hell does that mean, properly? She looked down at her hands, twisting them together. "We got married," she said, her voice barely a whisper, but it echoed in the silence of the kitchen like a death knell. "Last month. In Vegas." The kitchen seemed to tilt. My vision swam. Vegas. Married. Last month.
The words refused to compute. It was impossible. It was a nightmare. I stared at her, my mouth hanging open, my mind struggling to grasp the enormity of her confession. She hadn't just bought a ring. She hadn't just had an affair. She had married him. While still married to me. You married him? I stammered, the words catching in my throat. You married another man? While you were still married to me? She nodded, her gaze fixed on the floor. The confession hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. The weight of it was unbearable. The absolute, utter finality of it. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had erased me. Erased our past, our present, our future. I couldn't leave you without telling you, she said, her voice laced with a strange, almost apologetic tone. It wouldn't have been right. But Mark, he's everything. He makes me happy. Truly happy. And I realized I couldn't live a lie anymore. Not with you. Not with him. Not with me? My voice was a broken whisper. So, why, you just decided to move on? To replace me? With a ring funded by our goddamn emergency fund? The rage was boiling over now, hot and destructive. I felt a desperate need to lash out, to break something, anything, to release the pressure building inside me. She finally looked up, her eyes meeting mine, and I saw something in them that chilled me to the bone. It wasn't remorse. It wasn't regret. It was liberation. A perverse kind of joy.
She hesitated, and for a brief, hopeful second, I thought maybe there was a chance, a glimmer of the woman I loved still somewhere inside. But then she spoke, and the last shred of hope was extinguished. "I want a divorce," she said, her voice clear and steady. "And Mark and I, we're moving. West. California. He has family out there. We want a fresh start. A real life. California. A fresh start." Her words painted a picture of a future I was not a part of, a future she had meticulously planned without me.
And the divorce, the final legal severing of everything we had promised each other. It was happening. It was real. A fresh start, I repeated, a bitter laugh bubbling up. And what about me? What about our history? What about everything? She walked towards the back door, as if to escape the weight of my gaze, the weight of her own actions. She paused, her hand on the doorknob, and turned back to me, her expression unreadable. "You'll be fine," she said, her voice flat. "You'll find someone. You're a good guy. You deserve to be happy too. Just not with me anymore." And then she opened the door and walked out. The soft click of the latch echoed in the sudden, deafening silence. I stood there, alone in our kitchen, the scent of her perfume still lingering in the air, the phantom warmth of her hand on my arm. I looked down at my left hand, the hand that had worn a wedding ring for 7 years, the hand that now felt strangely naked and lost. The emergency fund, the vacation, the divorce. It was all too much to process. I stumbled to the couch, sinking into its familiar cushions, the same cushions I dug through for Legos just this morning. The world had irrevocably changed, and I was left in the wreckage, with nothing but the hollow echo of her final words and the chilling realization that my entire life had been a lie. And the worst part, I still had no idea where Mark lived, no idea where she was going, no idea how to even begin to pick up the pieces. The questions, the pain, the sheer gut-wrenching betrayal, it was all too much. I closed my eyes, trying to block out the images, the words, the unbearable reality. But it was no use. It was etched into my mind, a permanent scar. And as I sat there, numb and shattered, a single terrifying thought began to form. If she could do this, if she could erase our entire history and build a new life with someone else, what was to stop her from disappearing completely, taking every last trace of our shared past with her? The silence after she left was a physical thing, pressing in on me from all sides. It was a silence that screamed, a void where laughter and arguments and late-night whispers used to be. I could hear my own breathing, ragged and uneven, the only sound in a world that had suddenly gone mute. My gaze drifted to the empty space on the counter where her juice glass had been, the faint, damp ring, a ghostly imprint of her presence.
The floral scent of her shampoo was like a phantom limb, a constant reminder of what was gone, what had been deliberately severed. I stayed on the couch for a long time, the cushions molding to my stillness, my mind a broken record skipping over the same devastating loop. Vegas. Married. Last month. The words were a mantra of destruction, each repetition chipping away at the last vestiges of my reality. My emergency fund, my future, my wife, all gone, liquidated and dispersed into the ether of her new life. It wasn't just the money, though that was a monumental gut punch. It was the utter, complete deception. The years of shared dreams, whispered promises, the comfortable rhythm of our lives together, all revealed as a meticulously crafted illusion. She had been living a double life, and I, the oblivious fool, had been right there, cheering her on, planning our next vacation, blissfully unaware of the betrayal unfolding behind closed doors. I eventually stood up, my legs stiff and heavy, like I'd been underwater. The apartment felt too big, too empty. Every object, every piece of furniture was a monument to our life together, a life that was now officially over. The framed wedding photo on the mantelpiece, her radiant smile next to mine, felt like a taunt. We looked so young, so full of hope, so impossibly naive. Had she already been seeing Mark then? Had she been calculating, planning, weighing my worth against his even then? The thought made me sick. I walked into our bedroom, the air still carrying a faint trace of her perfume,
a scent I now associated with poison. Her side of the closet was still full of her clothes, neat and orderly, as if she expected to be back any moment. I ran my hand over the smooth fabric of her favorite sweater, a soft cashmere I'd bought her for our anniversary. It felt alien, cold. I couldn't bear to look at it, at any of it. I needed to get out. I needed to put miles between myself and this suffocating monument to my ruined life. I grabbed my keys and wallet, my movements automatic. The night air outside was cool and crisp, a stark contrast to the suffocating heat of the apartment. I got into my car, the familiar leather of the driver's seat a small, comforting anchor in the swirling chaos. I didn't have a destination in mind. I just drove, the city lights blurring into streaks of color as I navigated the empty streets. The radio was off. The silence in the car was just as profound as it had been in the apartment. My mind kept replaying the scene in the kitchen, Sarah's face, her words. I had to do this. For me. For her. For Mark. It was a selfish calculus, a cold equation where my happiness, our shared life, had been deemed expendable. I thought about her parents, the ones mentioned in the email. Were they her parents? Or Mark's? Had she fabricated a whole family for him too? The sheer audacity of it was staggering. It wasn't just a mistake, a momentary lapse in judgment.
This was a calculated, sustained campaign of deception. Hours later, I found myself on the outskirts of the city, the streetlights thinning, the buildings giving way to darker, more open spaces. I pulled over to the side of the road, the engine idling, and stared out at the vast, inky blackness. I felt a profound sense of loneliness, a raw, exposed vulnerability I hadn't experienced since I was a child. The anger was still there, a simmering ember beneath the surface, but it was mixed with a deep, aching sadness. I thought about all the little things I would miss. Her laugh, the way she hummed off-key when she was cooking, the warmth of her body curled up beside me on the couch. These were the threads that had woven the tapestry of my life, and now they were all being pulled out, leaving behind a gaping, ragged hole. The money, the emergency fund. It was a symbol of our shared commitment, our plan for the future. We had built it together, painstakingly, sacrificing small luxuries for the security of knowing we could weather any storm. And she had taken it, all of it, and used it to solidify her betrayal. It wasn't just financial ruin, it was the obliteration of trust, the ultimate insult. It was the message that our shared dreams were less important than her fleeting desires. I spent the rest of the night driving aimlessly, the questions circling in my head like vultures. Had it been about me? Had I done something wrong? Had I become too comfortable, too complacent? The self-doubt was a poison, whispering insidious possibilities. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about me failing her. This was about her making a choice to abandon everything we had, everything we were, for a new beginning with someone else. The word divorce echoed in my mind, a cold, hard fact that felt utterly alien. Divorce, the legal dissolution of a marriage, the formal severing of ties. It felt like a death sentence, not just for the marriage, but for the man I had been. As dawn began to break, casting a pale gray light over the landscape, I finally turned the car around. I had to go back. I couldn't stay out here forever, a ghost haunting the edges of my own life. I needed to face the wreckage, to start the agonizing process of picking up the pieces, even if I didn't know how. The drive back was somber, each mile bringing me closer to the empty apartment, to the stark reality of my new existence. The city was slowly waking up, a fresh day dawning for everyone else. For me, it felt like the end of everything. I unlocked the apartment door, the familiar click of the lock sounding hollow and meaningless. The air inside was stale, heavy with the residue of her departure. I walked through the rooms, my gaze sweeping over the remnants of our life. The unread mail on the kitchen counter, the discarded socks by the hamper, the faint indentation on the pillow where her head used to rest.
Each detail was a sharp jab to my already wounded heart.
I went to the closet, to the side where her clothes still hung. I opened it slowly, my hand trembling. I reached for a box that was tucked away on the top shelf, a box I hadn't opened in years. It contained old photos, letters, mementos from the early days of our relationship. I sat on the floor, surrounded by the tangible evidence of our past, and began to sift through them. Pictures of us on a beach, laughing, young and carefree. A handwritten card from our first Valentine's Day. A concert ticket stub. Each item brought a surge of memories, a bittersweet ache that threatened to overwhelm me. These were the good times, the solid foundation I thought we had built. How could it have all crumbled so completely? I found a small leather-bound journal tucked away at the bottom of the box. I hesitated, my fingers brushing against the worn cover. Was this her diary? Had she chronicled her betrayal in here? A wave of dread washed over me, but it was mixed with a desperate need to know. I opened it, my heart pounding in my chest. The handwriting was hers, neat and familiar. The entries were from about a year ago. I scanned the pages, my eyes quickly darting over the words, searching for answers, for explanations, for anything that could make sense of this catastrophic turn of events. The early entries were filled with the mundane details of our life, work, friends, weekend plans. Then, about 6 months ago, the tone began to shift. There were vague references to feeling unfulfilled, to a growing sense of restlessness. And then, there it was. A name. Mark. The entries became more frequent, more intense. Descriptions of secret meetings, stolen moments, a whirlwind romance that had consumed her. She wrote about feeling alive again, about finding a passion she thought she had lost. She described him as everything I wasn't, exciting, spontaneous, someone who understood her on a deeper level. The words were a brutal indictment of our marriage, of me. I was being dissected, analyzed, and ultimately dismissed. I kept reading, my mind numb, my emotions a chaotic storm. There were entries detailing the planning of the wedding, the excitement, the guilt, the exhilaration. She wrote about the difficulty of keeping it a secret, the constant fear of being discovered, but also the intoxicating thrill of living a double life. And then, the entry from last month, the day she married him. Her words were a confession of pure, unadulterated joy. "I'm Mrs. Mark Davies," she had written, her handwriting practically vibrating with excitement. "I feel like I've finally come home. I can't wait to start our real life together." Real life. The phrase was a dagger. My life, our life, had been a lie, a prelude to her true happiness. I closed the journal, the weight of it heavy in my hands. There were no excuses, no apologies, no attempts to justify her actions beyond her own perceived happiness. She had made her choice, and she had been ruthlessly, unapologetically committed to it. The tears finally began to fall, hot and relentless, blurring the images in my mind. They weren't just tears of sadness, they were tears of rage, of betrayal, of profound loss. I had been erased. My entire existence, my love, my commitment, had been deemed insufficient, obsolete. I sat there for a long time, the journal open on my lap, the photos scattered around me. The initial shock and anger had subsided, replaced by a hollow ache, a profound emptiness. I realized I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted it to make sense. But it wouldn't. Some things just don't. Life isn't a neat narrative with a tidy resolution. It's messy, painful, and often unfair. I gathered the photos, the journal, and the letters, and placed them back in the box. I put the box back on the shelf, a silent acknowledgement of the past that was now irrevocably gone. I couldn't erase it, but I could choose not to let it define me. The pain was still there, a raw wound, but it was starting to feel less like a consuming inferno and more like a dull, persistent ache. It was the ache of survival. I walked out of the bedroom, leaving the ghosts of our past behind. I went to the kitchen, and for the first time since I discovered the truth, I opened the refrigerator. I pulled out a bottle of water and drank it in long, deep gulps. The taste was cool and clean, a small comfort. I looked out the window at the rising sun,
the city bathed in a soft, golden light. It was a new day. A day that would be hard, a day that would be filled with pain and uncertainty. But it was a day I would face. I would have to learn to live in this new reality, a reality where the foundations of my life had been shattered, but where I, somehow, had to find a way to stand. The road ahead was long and unclear, but for the first time, a faint, almost imperceptible flicker of something that wasn't despair began to stir within me. It was the quiet, determined pulse of a heart that against all odds was still beating.